So the saying for the night is a penny saved is a government oversight. Is there anybody here doing a deal that they might want to talk about, might need help with? Nope. Okay. Book of the month is a book called Blue Fishing. It's by Steve Sims, and it talks about networking. He's actually, in the book, it's been a couple of years since I read the book, but he talks about like maybe getting a wedding at the, what's the thing with the Catholics, where the Pope lives?
Vatican?
Yeah. He actually had organized a wedding at the Vatican. Now you have to pull on a lot of contacts to be able to put that together, but he does weird things like that. So movie stars and real rich people will hire him to do special things, and it's not always a wedding. It can be, you know, a certain kind of safari or something like that. And his whole book is just showing you how, when you network and work together with people, that you can make more money and you can be successful.
What was the name of that book again?
Blue Fishing,
Blue Fishing.
like the color blue,
Okay.
by Steve Sims. So remember that tonight's presentation is just for your education. There's no professional advice, legal, accounting, or anything else. It's just for your enjoyment. This is Steve Sanders. I've known him for over 30 years. We were singles together back in Crestview Baptist Church before we both got married. He's a real stand-up guy. I've always told people for the last 20 years that if I was on the beach in Hawaii and had $100,000 in cash and needed to close a deal, Steve's the one I'd call, because I know that the $100,000 would be closing the deal. It wouldn't be going to Mexico or something. You got to find people that you trust and be around those people. I've got a list of things on my phone of why I can't do real estate and why, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Steve's real talented, so he doesn't have this, but I was wanting to tell everybody, since my phone's recording right now, I'll have to pull it out of memory. I got D's and F's coming in high school because I'm dyslexic. Before I started being with the group, I hated getting up in front of people. It took me 2 or 3 years before I got comfortable where I could talk in front of people. I don't remember names or faces. I'm really bad at that. And it's bothered me all my life, but I've worked ways around it. Remember Rex Roundtree? We lived together for probably a year when Rex and I did, when I was single. And we both got married, and we've known each other for 30 years. He came to my youngest boy's graduation, and I hadn't seen him in a year or two. And I saw him talking to my boy, and I went over and I shook his hand and introduced myself. I literally did not know who he was. As soon as he spoke, it went through a different part of my brain, and I knew instantly who he was. I just laughed it off, because I'm always kidding with people. And he thought I was just kidding, but literally I did not know who it was. And so that's how bad the memories of faces work in my brain. Oddly enough, I can tell one cow off of another, but people I have trouble with. So this is Steve. We're going to let him take it away. And the reason I told you all that is just that if I can do real estate, any of you guys can. Steve's real talented, so he can do it, but even with my disabilities and stuff, I can do it.
Well, I was going to sit down, but a few other people came. So I'm just going to basically tell you my story and such, and how I got involved in real estate, and where I'm at now in the process. I recognize a few faces, and I got on the meetup and looked all of y'all up. So I looked at your profiles, so I know most of your names and kind of where you're at. It looks like, for the most part, and now you've got some rentals, right? Because I remember you got some mobile home parks and things like that, right? I know the last time we.
Now I have a mix. I have homes, it's all on the same property, but I have homes or RVs and now tiny houses.
Okay, because I remember a year or so ago, you were having a problem getting some electric set up out there, but I mean, but for the most part, you know, most of y'all are kind of newer or don't have a whole lot of experience in this. Am I right? And you are you do contract work? Is it Rick?
No,
Right about Rick?
no, I used to have a mobile home park.
Oh, okay, I thought I was matching your face up to one of the profiles, I guess not. So, anyway, I'm bad at faces too, I guess. Well, anyway, I was always kind of an entrepreneurial-minded person from the time I was a kid. I mean, I was the kind of person that even when I was 12 years old, I mean, I'd go out and cut down bamboo stalks and let it string through them and make little wind chimes and go door to door selling them to the ladies that were at home alone with all this cute little boy. Oh, yeah, $5, you know. And so I just always had that mindset to make money and do things. Now, I'm older than half of y'all. Okay, so growing up, I didn't really have the resources when I was a young adult. Still had the interest in real estate, and I'd drive around looking at properties and such, but there was no YouTube to learn things on, or you know, TikTok, or name your poison. It was pretty much, if I wanted to learn something, I'd go and pick up a book, you know, and just kind of read it and figure out things as best I could. But as I grew up in the Metro Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I moved to Midland in '89. Now, I've always been the type person that, and I would recommend this to anybody, I had a job just like everybody else, okay? I mean, pretty much everybody does. You don't just walk out of high school and say, I'm gonna be a millionaire by the time I'm 30, and you walk in to $1 million 5 years later, okay? Everybody in this room probably said when they were in high school, I'm gonna be a millionaire by the time I'm 30, okay? I did too. It doesn't really work that way most of the time, because you don't have mentors to get you there, okay? But I moved out here, and I just always interested in those things. But with my job, I have always looked at a job as a means to an end, not the means in itself, okay? And what I mean by that is most people, they'll have their job, and I've got this many bills, I've got this much money that comes in, I pay my bills, if there's some extra, woohoo, I can go out to eat, or things like that. To me, a job is a way to make money so I can put it into something else so that it works for me. I'm not working for my job. The job is a means to an end, and what's your end, okay? So, I guess the first time first house I flipped was in 2000. I mean, I was single when I moved out here, '89, and I had a roommate, and he bought a house, and so I talked him into letting me experiment on it sometimes. So I've learned to kind of fix some things up and build some things, and I'm kind of a hands-on person. I like creating things and building things and all that. So we did a few things with him. I ended up getting married a few years later, and we had a house. So I had a big lab then, okay? So that's what I will tell people sometimes that they're young and single and don't have a house. I mean, sometimes, you know, buy a house and experiment. I mean, that's where you learn stuff. But I enjoyed those type of things. So I would, you know, get this house, and I'd think, well, I don't like these cabinets here, so I'd pull them down and put new ones in. Well, you know, I had a drop ceiling. I don't think, well, I like this drop ceiling, so I'd, you know, get a hammer. So I'd start pulling it apart and figure it out, and most of the time I was able to figure it out pretty well. And this is over the course of 25 years. So now, you know, I'll tear up anything because I don't have to fix it. I'm not really worried about it, but I continued doing that, and I just learned little things through books. You know, I'd get there used to be Builders Square before Builders or Home Depot and Lowe's, and I get a book, and I wanted to retile our tub surround, and it showed how to do it with a glass cutter. You know, and that was their idea of cutting tile. I didn't know any different, so I used a glass cutter. Man, I could tile this tub surround. You know, that's just kind of how I learn things. Just not being afraid to jump in. I mean, fear will screw you over. I mean, it'll paralyze you. Okay, you know, this is about the 7th time I've spoken at some of these RIAs over the years, if you count going to houses where, you know, I hosted the RIA group at a house I was flipping or something, and every one of y'all's new since last time I spoke. And you know what? When I was at the last one, every one of them was new, and the one before that, every one of them was new. Okay. And if I speak another year from now, chances are, if y'all don't do something, every one of y'all is going to be new again. Okay? Now, hopefully, some of it's because they took things to heart, they learned, they will got out there and they're like, now they're hustling it, and they just like, man, I just don't have time for that, and I've got a pretty good grasp on things. But you know, everybody loves information. Everybody loves to feel the dream, man. Let's hear the stuff, and I can go home and see dollar signs in my dreams. But you know what? Yeah, you got to be able to put the hours in. You better be willing to identify why you're doing this thing. Okay. You know, everybody can talk about dreams and goals and all that type of stuff. And knowledge is power. Well, that's a load of crap. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. I can tell y'all how to walk out here today, and if I had a magic wand, if you go over and dig in this hole and there's a magic wand, and you know, nobody's gonna go dig with this magic wand. It doesn't, people just won't really do a whole lot. And if you think that, well, I wanna work smarter, not harder, well, you can put that in the trash too, because you better be willing to work hard and smart, okay? You think Elon Musk worked 40 hours a week? You know, Bill Gates, name your poison, any of these guys? I mean, you better work, okay? You can't be afraid of working, all right? So, and I never was. I had a job, and I would start doing it. So I'd start doing some little contract jobs for people every once in a while, just little things because I didn't have a big skill set. And over the years, I got to learn a little bit more, and I wanted to get a house. I wanted to flip a house. And, you know, I've never done anything that big or anything that good. But one of my secretaries, her mother was getting rid of her house, and I was able to negotiate this thing, and I bought this house on a credit card. Okay, this 20 years ago, first house I bought, 2021, and you know, credit cards used to send out courtesy checks. You know, those little courtesy checks over the invoices with the statements, and I got that courtesy check, and I had a credit line, and I wrote a $12,000 check for this house. Okay, it's a little 3-bed, 1-bath, 800 square foot, you know, built in the 50s type house. It was in rough shape, and I went ahead and bought that thing, and with a buddy of mine, we decided we were going to flip this house, and we did. We fixed it all up and got some bad advice, and learned a lot. Still didn't have YouTube to get any idea on how to do this stuff, but we worked on this house and got it, you know, got it on the market and ended up selling it, and made about $13,000, you know, about $6,500 a piece. Okay. And looking back, I can picture that house. It's like, oh my gosh, that was so bad. It was terrible. But, you know, made $6,500 over the course of 8 or 10 months, and got a ton of experience. You know, if I'd have got that experience going to a trade school or a college or anything like that, I'd have paid them $6,500 and come out with no hands-on and no experience. So it worked out pretty well, you know, just jumping in. And then, you know, took that money and later on found a foreclosure and fixed that one up and ended up sticking a renter in that for a while. And bought it for, it was a foreclosure on like a HUD site. And I found it at 9 o'clock that morning, looked at it at 9:30, had an offer in at 10 o'clock, and had it by 2. You know, then I was like, okay, now I've got to find some money. Okay. And I found, at the time, they used to have bridge loans with banks. They don't really do those too much anymore. 2007, 2008. Dodd-Frank, you know, all that stuff really kind of screwed some things up, but there are a lot of resources now that there weren't back then. We have, you know, hard money investors you can find online. You know, I could get online and find somebody in 2001 or 2005 or whatever the case was, and so I just started calling banks. I ended up finding one that gave me a bridge loan, which works kind of like a hard money loan will work now, where you can roll in your rehab and get your rehab on draw. I can talk about that a little bit more briefly after a while. But so I just continued kind of doing that, and ended up selling that and getting a duplex up in Lubbock and had that for a while, and started buying a number of properties. And I like getting them that are a little bit distressed and putting in little elbow grease, and you know, get instant equity. And because I had the background I did, just learning things and doing some contract jobs here and there with firms, and get some experience, I'm able to do a little bit more of that and get some equity in my properties right off the bat. Now, all those things being said, now who's going to say, who has thought that they would get a property? I would love to get a property, but what's your but? Somebody, anybody? But what?
Fear.
Fear, okay, that's good. what is a tangible challenge?
Not knowing what you're doing going into it.
That can be one. I'm looking for something different. but
Repair
those-
costs for me.
Huh?
Repair costs.
Repair cost, that's a big one. How are you gonna buy this thing? Capital, right? I mean, you know, even a hard money person wants 20% down. I mean, you know, honestly, that's a big challenge. You know, you can see gurus on your social media pop-ups and YouTube and who knows where all day long, all the time. Buy these houses, 0 money down, and you're gonna be a millionaire in 3 weeks, you know. It just, you know, it's a real issue, okay? 20% down, you know, houses aren't cheap. I mean, you can, even if you are doing bandit signs and all that, and negotiating a great deal with somebody, you might get something for $60,000 or $80,000, maybe. But what if it's $75,000? You got $15,000 in your back pocket, and then you got to rehab that thing, okay? So it can be a challenge. So that would be one of the things I would encourage people to pursue and look into, is you need to find, sometimes you got to find some seed capital, you know, and that involves networking. You know, not everybody can just have a 401k that they can draw a little bit back on or something, or doesn't have a rich uncle that'd be willing to finance your startup. So you know, that's one of the bigger challenges, and everybody's going to have it, and it's not necessarily an easy challenge to overcome. Now, after doing it and doing these side gigs and all that stuff and having a pretty good job for a long time, I mean, I've developed some capital, and part of it, even though I don't have some of the benefits today of having a YouTube or, you know, internet, some of the things that are available, financing was a little bit different, and I didn't have to come like that first house. I mean, writing a courtesy check, you know, couldn't write a courtesy check for $11,000 and get a house today. Even if you had a courtesy check, who's got a $200,000 credit card or do a courtesy check, you know, or whatever the case may be, to be able to write a $40,000, $60,000, 20% down payment check on. The bridge loans that I was able to get from the bank, I paid, because of the way I structured that second house, that foreclosure house, I bought it for 27. I took a 37 loan at 10,000. I didn't fix up. They did it on bridge loan. Everything was rolled in, and at the end I did a mortgage. That house cost me $36. Okay, I mean, don't have that today. Okay, because 2007, 2008 really kind of messed up some of the banking stuff. Okay, so there are some other challenges that y'all have today that I didn't have, but I had challenges, and you know, you got to be willing to never ever say I can't. Don't ever let those words even go in your brain, even if they don't come out your mouth, because neurological fact, if you say I can't, it shuts down the creative centers of your brain, and you will not. Okay? If you instead always say, how can I? You know, man, I'd love to get that house, how can I? Or not, I'd love to get that house, but I can't come up with 20% down. And you won't. I'd love to get that house, it's a great deal. How can I come up with 20% down? And when you say, how can I, it triggers the creative and problem-solving portions of your brain. That's just a little side note, you know, but that is biological and neurological fact, okay? So always keep those things in mind. So now, how many of y'all have a side hustle? Okay, gotta have a side hustle. I mean, you want that 20% down and you're not gonna be able to find it. I can tell you all kinds of stuff, but if you don't have a side hustle and can start coming up with some money, I mean, you're gonna have to be patient. I mean, sometimes there's patience involved, and that's part of why I'm seeing different people each time I come here. You know, I mean, I've talked to one guy years ago, and the very first thing he wanted to go have coffee with me, and I kind of tried to start mentoring him, and I said, well, what's your credit score? Get on Credit Karma. It's not completely accurate, but find out your credit score. Let's look at your debt to income ratio. What's that? Okay. Do you know what a budget is? Okay. You know, I mean, for the last 25 years, I mean, there's my budget. You know, I still do it. I mean, it's line by line, man. This top part is the income. These are bills. That's the total. That's the total. Off to the side, I don't have it here. It's what's left over at the end of the month. Okay. So you need to think about, what's it gonna take to, what are your numbers gonna be? I mean, if you look at an average house that you might feel comfortable getting, and if 20% down means that, the average house you're gonna be able to find maybe that you think you might fix and flip, you might could get it for 120. Well, if you know you're gonna have 20% down plus the closing costs, you're gonna have 25 grand, okay? So there's your target number, okay? Get your side hustle going, mow some lawns, replace a fence, paint somebody's garage, I don't care. I mean, get some kind of side hustle, because that is gonna be a barrier to a lot of people, okay? If you do have resources, that's great, okay? So, if you have resources, then you can start going to hard money lenders, things of that nature. And does anybody know how hard money lender works? I know a couple of y'all may. Are y'all familiar with the term hard money lenders? Okay, mostly, somewhat. Okay, hard money lenders are going to not give a rip about your credit history. They will look at your credit score, and it can affect what percentage rate you get, just like if you're getting a regular mortgage. But they're looking at the deal. Okay, they don't look at, well, this guy's not credit worthy. He's looking at, this guy's getting this $100,000 house. It's going to need $30,000 worth of work, and it's going to be worth 180. Is that a deal? That's a deal. Okay, that's what they're looking at. Okay, you're going to present this thing to them, and you're going to give the ARV after rehab value, and give them all these numbers, and they're going to give you the money. Now, 20% down. Okay, you're still going to have that, but they will finance all your that $30,000 of rehab too. Okay, so. Anybody here, I know one of the people I looked at that signed that they were going to be here said they do some contracting work on the side. Is they're not here about it? You are? Okay. You can be in a better position than some of these other people can, but it doesn't mean y'all couldn't. Okay, because when you're doing a hard money deal, they're going to still finance your rehab money on a draw, okay? You'll give them a scope of work, which means I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. They'll ask for a detailed scope of work. It might be 20 items, demo 2,000, rewire, whatever, the box 6,500, whatever the case may be. They want a bullet point and a cost beside them. So when you're doing your rehab, you will, they'll put that money kind of like in an escrow account for a draw. That $40,000 is going to take to fix a house, just a number. And so you're going to go in there, and every time you have something completed, you can call them and say, I need a draw release. And they're going to look and say, well, okay, I got my demo 2,000, I got my electric rewired 6,000, I need $8,000, about 40,000. And they're going to send somebody for an inspection, and it costs a couple $100, and they're going to release that money to you. Okay. Now the thing about me being a contractor, I can get this property under my personal name, and I can say, a demo is going to be 2,000, electric's going to be 6,000, and these sheetrock in these 3 rooms are going to be 3,000. It's going to cost me about $1,500. But I'm going to run it through my contracting business and say, oh yeah, Quality Contracting and Home Improvement did this for $6,000, and they're going to give me $6,000, okay, or whatever the draw was, and that's why I can cash flow my note off of some of that stuff. So I kind of have a little bit of advantage in having a contracting business that you can run it through. You can kind of get yourself through some of those cash flow situations if you want to that way. Now, okay, so that's a lot of information in just a short while. It's kind of a jumping off point, but some of the things that the reason I kind of started this whole thing is probably the same reason y'all are sitting here tonight. I mean, why are y'all here? Why are you here? I mean, what do you want to get out of this, and why?
Just to be financially free, as you say. Kind of.
Ding, ding. Anybody different than that? Duh, right? Okay. So what's that mean, right? What does financially free mean? Okay, to me, everybody here, I'm hoping, if you have not, ask me later, heard of Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Y'all heard of that? The book Rich Dad Poor Dad? Okay, if you haven't, get it. Read it. Very basic, but the one thing that I took out of that book, and I couldn't tell you a whole lot out of that book, the whole thing, but this one thing. And it is the one thing that's like, that's it for me. Okay, this is the thing. He said, most people will look at what is rich? You know, I want to be rich, okay, define rich. Rich is $2 million. He doesn't define rich that way. He doesn't define rich in a dollar figure, he defines rich in time, okay? And if y'all have read this book, y'all might know where I'm going with this. And so his definition of, if my budget, you know, I've got my budget here. First of all, if you don't have a budget like this, get one. And that is a little Dave Ramsey stuff, okay? So that's not where we're part. But you do want to have your budget. You do want to tell your money where to go instead of it telling you go to, you know, where you're going to go. But so his thing was, so say your monthly requirements are $3,000. That'll make my house payment, my food, my car, my insurance, my utilities. You know, your requirements are $3,000 a month, okay? And you have $9,000 in the bank. How rich are you? You're 3 months rich, right? You don't have a job, you have $9,000, $3,000 a month. 3 months you're broke. You're 3 months rich, okay? Now your requirements are $3,000 a month, and you have a rental property that gives you $1,000 a month. Now how rich are you with 9,000? Now you're 4.5 months rich, okay? You can do the math, but you get where I'm going with that. Okay, now you got 3 rental properties, and you have $3,000 a month required, and you have 3 rental properties that make you $3,000 a month. How rich are you?
Infinite.
You're infinitely rich. You're infinite rich. Okay? Now, oversimplifies it because there's vacancies and come ups and, you know, doctor visit or a car breakdown or tire or whatever, but y'all get the point, right? I heard a little podcast that Robert Kiyosaki's wife did, said when, you know, back in the 80s, they became wealthy because they had to have $3,000 a month in needs in their budget, and they're making $10,000 a month in rental properties, okay? So that was kind of my deal. Now, I kept my job for a good long time, and partly because about 15 years ago, I took on a little bit more leadership role, and my owner was out of town, and made pretty good money, had some freedom and flexibility, but we ended up not really seeing eye to eye on the way business should be run. Won't get into details, but we just had different views on how I thought a business should grow, and he was kind of still in 1985. But so I was doing that, and I started getting rental properties and doing contract work and all that, and of course saving money, investing money, things like that. And one day, about a little over a year ago, he comes to my office and says, I think it's about time we're going to have to part ways. And I said, okay, you want me to give you 2 weeks notice? You want me to give you a key now? Okay? There's a thing called forget you money. Okay? It can be, you can name your own prefix to that, but forget you money. Okay? Here's my budget. Okay? Check, rent, mortgage. Okay? And then off the side, this is my positive, negative. At the end of the month, how much money do I need? $137. Okay? I'm doing a contract job for somebody now, $110,000. I mean, I need $137 a month to make my bills. Do you think I didn't have up years money? Or forget you money? I mean, how, did it upset me? Well, it kind of did, just because I was like, who are you so-and-so? No, it wasn't quite that, but I mean, fine. That's fine. I mean, I got my number. I mean, what's your number? Right now my number's about $11,000 a month. I mean, it's a bigger number. But, when you got that plus anything I do on the side, I mean, I can do a contract job, and, I mean, when you're in that place, it's very comfortable. So I'm looking for a couple more rental properties, and I'm pretty much, not quite, but pretty much at infinite wealthy as far as I'm concerned. I mean, $137 a month, and I can take a lot of that stuff out that I spend now. I don't really need to. I can pay off a vehicle and quit supporting things that I support on the side, and charities and things like that. But, you know, what's your number? You know, what is your number? What's it gonna take to get there? Okay? Let's see. I did make a few notes. Let me see if I covered any of them. So, you know, think about your goals and why you have them. Sure, financially independent. Okay, everybody says financially independent. I mean, what's that look like? You know, does it look like, you know, 2 Corvettes and a Winnebago in the driveway and a beach house and a lake house and being able to show off for all your friends that they don't really care what you drive anyway? I mean, you know, really a lot of time when it comes down to it, there is an element of that. You know, don't lie to me and say there's not, because everybody's got a little bit of that, because there's, you know, sometimes there can be self-value, and I mean, guys are worse than girls probably, but you know, there's also some confidence in that, and you know, when it really comes down to it, you know, I'd love to have a brand new 2022, 2023 Corvette. You know, I think they're cool looking, you know, but end of the day, it's like, okay, I mean, it's still getting me from point A to point B, and after a while, you're like, I don't really care what you think I look like driving it, and it'd just be fun. But, you know, so what's your really picture look like, and why do you have it? Okay, you know, really, you're going to have to ask yourself the questions: is why and what then? Okay, I want to have this. Why? Well, this. Okay, what then? Well, I want this. Why? This. What then? You have to be able to identify why and what then. And me as a Christian, ultimately, you better answer that final what then. Okay? Well, this won't really count for much in the long run. But you know, that's you know, that's really where I'm at right now. Right now, I just do contract money or contract work, and I'm doing that full time now. And you know, I'm actually busy until like next April. I got way too busy, way too fast. But there's a lot of people that need stuff like that. You seeing some of that with your contract business? You just can't turn away fast enough. And my problem now is learning how to say no. I need to quit telling everybody yes. So I'm booked way out in the future, but I enjoy it, and you know, I can work. You know, if I work 20 hours a week, and you know, if I'm working a full time, I mean, make $4,000 to $6,000 a week, and you know, I can handle that pretty easy. I mean, pretty well. And so a lot of times I'll just work 20 hours a week or so, and I take some time off, and I've got you know, I need the $137 a month. I mean, I think I can make. You know, it is a kind of a long process. It can be, doesn't have to be. Starting out working with people, you know, Lee talks about that stuff all the time. Build your business if you want to. You know, y'all know who Grant Cardone is? Y'all know who Grant Cardone is? He has like $4 billion with a B, dollars worth of real estate. A little bit successful, okay? He always has these things that'll pop up on your social media and stuff, and learn how to do money with zero, you know, real estate, no money down, and all that. And if you want to be Grant Cardone, tear it up. I mean, more power to you. I personally don't want that. I don't want it to consume me. I'm pretty comfortable, and comfortable can be an enemy, more of an enemy when you're your age and my age, okay? But comfortable is kind of nice. You know, when you know you just don't have to really worry about bills too much, you got zeros in the bank account investments. And right now, going by Robert Kiyosaki, I'm like, if I don't do another lick of work the rest of my life, I'm like 40 years wealthy. I think it's going to outlive me. I don't have to worry about it. Now, you know, Schwab may have something to say about that, or WF, but I'm not going to go there. But you know, great reset stuff. But you know, you gotta just be willing to do the work. You know, develop your why, get your network in place. You know, start developing some leadership skills. If you do want to scale your business, you're going to have to develop some leadership skills. Okay, you're going to have to learn how to lead people. Okay, you're going to have to learn how to employ people. Okay, now I don't really do that, because I'm particular about my work, and I just don't want to deal with managing people. I mean, I managed people for the last 30 years. I mean, it's just kind of a hassle. And I do all the work myself. Not a lot of people want to, and that's fine, but I make 3 times the profit because I'm not farming it out. I'm double dipping on my deals, and but I'm also tired at night. But if you want to really scale your business, you're going to have to learn how to hire people and manage people. Okay, you're never going to really scale your business where you have multiple deals going on. You're not going to be a flipper flop person on a TV that has 17 deals going and you're doing all the work. You're going to have to, if you're going to scale your business, you're going to have to learn how to hire and manage people. So you can start working on your leadership skills now, because if, some of the younger ones, y'all may be thinking bigger picture. Others may not. Lee and I, we're pretty comfortable doing the things we do, and we make good living, and we get to do pretty much what we want to do. I personally love to travel, so I think I quit counting it like 17 or 18 countries I've been to, and I just wherever. We're supposed to go. I'm supposed to go to 2 or 3 more countries in the next 6 months, and I enjoy it. That's those things I like to do, and I like to know that I can do things I want to do when I want to do them. And thinking that really, if everybody was really to think about it, that's kind of what people are mostly thinking about. Okay, if you want to scale it later on, if you're making $1 million a month, you can help a lot of people, or you could be Scrooge McDuck and roll around on the bed with all bills. But when it really comes down to it, you want to be able to do what you want to do when you want to do it, and how much is enough. There comes a time you want to probably sell it to somebody else, or do a little good in the world, and you can do it. You can do it through real estate. Over the last 100 or 200 years in America, over 80% of all people have become millionaires through real estate. Even if it's owning your own home. I personally am all about the rental market, okay? Because it is that cash flow, and that's my objective. My objective is that passive, that infinite wealthy thing. But even if you walk out here and say, man, that guy gave me more than I wanted to know, I just didn't realize there was that much to it, I don't think I really want to do this. I'd rather get an internet business and sell stuff on eBay. I don't know, it doesn't matter. Get one rental house. Just get one little rental house. Put in a little bit of sweat equity, even if you have to home hack it, live in it a while, and move out, stick somebody in it. If you did some financial planning, I guess, to a degree.
Advisory part.
Okay, so.
The CFP, but now.
Okay, but you've been around it, so you'll be able to corroborate this. Say, anybody here under 30? Okay, you buy a house, that's okay, you buy a house, okay, and you get a renter in there, and you're net flowing $400 a month. That's it, $400 a month. And you're like, that's just, man, this was way more hassle than I thought it would be. I don't want to do this anymore. And you just, but I got this one rental house, I'll go ahead and stick with it. And then you go and be an engineer, whatever. But you take that $500 a month and put it in a growth stock mutual fund, okay, and never think about it. Okay, your mortgage on that house is $1,000 a month. You're renting it for $1,400 a month. Okay, 3 years from now, are you still renting it for $1,400 a month? Okay, but you have a $1,000 mortgage. What does it do? Okay, 5 years from now, you making $1,600 a month? You're $1,900 a month, $900. How much is your mortgage? $1,000. Inflation is your friend if you get real estate. It is a hard asset. If you follow some economic people in finance, you'll see. Things could potentially get bad in the next number of years. Who knows? Nobody really knows. But even with hyperinflation, hard assets are going to inflate with it. So 20 years later, mortgage is still $1,000 a month. Now you're getting $3,800 a month rent. And all this time, you're just putting that money in a growth stock mutual fund. You hit 55 years old. I hate real estate, but I like this $4 million I got in this growth stock mutual fund, because you're not going to get into Social Security. Okay, man, just do that. I don't care if you do anything else. Just do that. And how much is that house worth now? It's not worth 120 or 140. It was. Now that house is worth $450,000, and it's almost paid for, and you didn't pay for it. Okay, here's another one. You think, well, this is working out pretty good, but you know, I'm starting my career and I enjoy this. And next thing you know, you have that house for 7 years and it's cash flowed pretty well, and you're still socking it away. And that house is worth 140, now it's worth 260, and it's been paid down over the last 10 years. So now you only owe 105,000 on it, but it's worth 260. Go do a cash out refinance that thing for $240,000, take $130,000, put it in your pocket, tax free. Okay, I mean, you'll pay tax eventually, but you're deferring that stuff way down the road if you plan on keeping it for 30 years, and you got $130,000 in your pocket. I mean, you can slow roll yourself to some major money. You get one little rental house, get it fixed up, get a renter in there, let inflation do what it does. Next thing you know, your house is appreciating, you're getting to write off your utilities, your insurance, your taxes. You're getting to write off 27.5-year appreciation schedule on your property, and your cash flowing $400 a month. Somebody else is paying your note. Inflation typically goes about 4%, in real estate about 4% a year. And 10 years, do it 7 years, cash out refi, put $60,000 in your pocket, go buy 2. 10 more years, cash out refi, three of those things, put $300,000 in your pocket, buy 7. I mean, now you're 45 years old and you have 12 rental properties that are making you $800 a month each. Okay, so you're making $9,600 a month. Think you could live on that? You know, I mean, yeah, and really a lot less. You know, and then you got this 401k sitting over there with who knows how much, and you know, that's just kind of the nuts and bolts of money, man. If you don't know your math, if you don't know finance, well, you better learn it, because they're not teaching it in school. You know, learn how to do a budget, learn how numbers work, amortization schedules work, learn how appreciation works, how inflation works, what's going to work for you. Look at your 5-year, 10-year goals and plans, define them, infinitely detailed, know why, not just so that you can look impressive to people. That'll wear thin pretty quick. You know, it'll make you feel like a big shot for a little while. Then where's your goal? You know, it doesn't have enough to drive you. Okay. Y'all know who John Maxwell is? Some of y'all. He does a lot of leadership training. I listened to a podcast. It's one of those motivational day type podcasts, and John Maxwell's on there, and of course he talks to like Fortune 500 CEOs and does big leadership training. And this was on goal setting, and he even talks about some of the biggest CEOs, the biggest businesses in the world, don't hit their goals. They don't always set their goals properly. But I went ahead and took notes on it and printed them out. So, but it's just some goal setting question. And the very first one is it really my dream? Well, you know, that sounds pretty stupid, but yeah, think about it. Is it really your dream, or is it a dream just for somebody else's benefit? You know, can I clearly see my dream? Depending on factors within my control to achieve my dream. Okay? Does my dream compel me to follow it? Do I have a strategy to reach my dream? And a few others. I've got a bunch of copies up here. You can grab one on the way out. But you know, I really really hope that if I don't see y'all again, if I'm called back a year from now, it's because y'all took hold of it and ran. And you're like, man, I'm just really, I think I got this down pretty good. I mean, I studied, I worked, I put my hands to it, I applied it. I didn't just take the knowledge and then go daydream about it. You know, I really put some feet to it and put a little elbow grease in it if you needed to, and I think I got a pretty good handle on it, because you won't need to hear me again. But you know, if it isn't your thing and you just not hop to another thing, and maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, but you know, this is life. It's not, nobody's gonna spoon feed you through it. You know? So giving my 2 cents worth, that's and that's kind of where I'm at now, and it's you know, hasn't always been easy. I guarantee. I mean, I've lost some money on deals twice, but I generally made money. But COVID didn't do me very good. I had 2 houses, and they were big houses that I got into, and now it's like 60K on each of them. But, you know, I probably made, I don't know, more than that, okay, in multiples. So, I mean, you know, you can always sometimes, but I was also, it was right before COVID, things were gangbusters, oil was 100 and something a barrel, and it's like, everybody was buying everything, and so did I, foolishly thinking this would just go on forever. I was 2007, 2008 people, you know, those people just went nuts. So, and you know, got into something I probably shouldn't have got into. You know, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Don't be afraid of failing. I've got friends that they just never failed. They're afraid to fail. Guess where they're at? You know, I mean, I have this one friend, I mean, love him, he's probably my best friend in the world, but he's just got this Eeyore personality, man, and we worked deals together, we've done some lucrative deals together, but it's just like, you know, blows me sometimes, and he's scared to pull the trigger on things, and I talked to him one day, and I was just, he's one of those closer than brother, you can talk to him that way kind of friends, and he was saying something along the lines of like failure. He said, I just feel like a failure sometimes. I'm a bigger failure than you're ever going to be, he said, because you refuse to try anything. He said, I failed more than you will ever fail in your lifetime because you refuse to get out there and fail. You know, John Maxwell has a book called Failing Forward. You know, failing forward. I mean, man, sure, I'm screwed up, but you know, moving forward, you're going to screw up. Don't let that stop you. I mean, any of y'all play sports competitively, like real competitively, when you were growing up? Anybody? You learn more from wins or losses.
Lots.
Yeah, they suck, but you win. You learn so much more from losses and wins. Even now, you know, I can look back to some high school and after high school stuff. I used to tour tennis, play tennis and on tours and stuff, and I don't remember any wins. I could tell you a bunch of losses. Man, I don't remember those things. But you know what? You know, I learned from those things, and you will too. So, questions? Yes.
I think earlier you had mentioned that you can find hard money lenders online.
Yes.
What's your strategy?
In spades. There's a website called Connected Investors. Connected Investors. It might even have a CIX.com. I'm not real sure, but browse it. ConnectedInvestors.com. And you can plug in a deal that you may or may not have. You're just looking. Yeah, I mean, you think this would be a good deal. You can put it in, and man, they'll blow up your mailbox, man. They'll call you. There'll be so many people trying to give you money, they'll freaking blow your hair back. But you know, they do. You'll get better deals when you've had multiple deals that you've done. But again, they're looking for the numbers. I mean, they're looking. Is this a deal? You can do it with y'all know what BRRR is?
Yes.
Yeah. Buy, rehab, refinance, repeat. There's people that'll do a BRR financing that's pretty competitive, and they'll do it strictly on what's called DSCR. DSCR, I can't remember the acronym, but basically,
Coverage ratio.
right. See, you need to get your talking. So say you have $1,000 mortgage and you rent for $1,000, that's 1.0 DSCR. If you $1,000 a month and a $1,500 rent, it's a 1.5 DSCR. And they'll loan on anything over like a 1.3. You know, because I do some of the sweat equity myself, man, my DSCR is like 1.8 to 2.3. Man, they'll give me money all day long on those numbers. So, but yeah, there's plenty of them out there that'll do that. Those are the easy ones. The harder ones, that 20%. It's that 20%. And you know, people, you've heard this before. The first million is the hardest. Everybody probably heard that before. And that's.
I'm working on my second million because the first one, I gave up on the first one.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. But that's okay. You're still working on it. So, and it is true, you know, and it's going to be true. Our first rental property is going to be the hardest. You know, second one will be a little bit easier. By the time you're up to 3 or 4, you know, you're going to be good. Don't get impatient and quit your job after you have 2 rental properties. You know, just be patient, have a 10-year plan, have a 20-year plan. You know, they have done studies that, with wealthy people and very successful people, and they found that the further in the future a person had goal vision, the wealthier they were. Some people that have a really clear vision in 5 years, they were wealthier than the average person, maybe 10 years, 20 years. People that could look 30, 40 years in the future with their goals, fabulously wealthy. Not that anything wrong with that, you can't be, but you know, think about your goals, have some short-term, long-term. Your goals should be in granite, your plans in sand, okay? Goals in granite, plans in sand, you know what I mean? Your goal should be set. If you define it well, if you know why you have it, very detailed, set it in granite, man. It doesn't change. Your steps to get there may change. That's the sand part. You know, you have to move around, change it up, keep that goal clear. Know your number. Your numbers, your goals needs to revolve around your number. Your monthly income number, your dollar number, your, you know, what's your freedom number? What's your financial freedom number? Whether it's a monthly like mine is, or a dollar figure of $8 million, whatever. Know your number, know how you're gonna get there. Plan, what's it? Plan the work plan or something. Get busy, so, yes.
For someone who doesn't have any contractor experience, would you recommend just like going on Home Depot to kind of estimate the rehab cost, or how would you recommend?
Good question.
Yeah.
Wow, a lot of it's experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a good question. I get on that little thing in
I
front of
think
you.
I can answer this one.
Go,
because
yeah, please.
That's what
Yeah.
my weakness is. And so, like, the one that he and I did together, I found the deal. I had no idea how to figure out what it was gonna take, so I brought him in, and he did that.
Okay.
And then if I find a mobile home or a piece of property that I'm looking at, sometimes I'll see something that needs to be done, so I'll call a contractor over, because he's so busy all the time.
Right, yeah.
He'll give me a price, but it's
You
not.
don't want me.
Yeah, you know, and so maybe just that portion of it, or like, the one that we're kind of closing on, supposed to close last Friday, but, we saw some stuff. There was a shower in there that we knew we needed to redo. There was two living areas, but they were using one as a bedroom, but it had a sheet or something drawn over it. So we talked to them and said, wouldn't you like to have a door there? Because if they ever moved out, we'd make a door there to make it a 4-bedroom instead of 3-bedroom. So we might as well do it while they're there and get the goodwill from them. Well, that's sort of a simple thing, so we're thinking, you know, maybe $400 or $500. Now the shower, we'll have to get an estimate on, but we went ahead and bought the property because the property will pay for that. And then we had Pat White. Pat White is the inspector that works with the group here. He's an actual inspector, so he'll do a house, if you're buying a house from him, for like 6, 7, 8, whatever they charge. But for investors, if we just need to know what's going on with the property, it's like $175, $200. And so we had him go through the property, and he found probably half a dozen to a dozen things. And so the two big things is the door and the shower. We're going to do that. But then the rest of it, we're going to just do over the next year or two. The first thing we're going to do is the spigot coming out of the bathtub. You can see a hole in the tile, so every time you're taking a shower, there's water going behind it. That's a pretty easy fix, but that's going to be the first thing we fix. And then the rest is just going to be piled, you know, throughout the year or years as we get to it, because we want the cash flow to pay off the second lien. So
Yeah, really though.
because I don't have his skill to be able to figure out the thing, I don't do big projects unless I bring somebody like him in, and he does it with me.
Right.
If it's small enough, then, you know, I can figure it out a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, experience is good.
I don't know if you're familiar with Odessa, but I have a contractor sheet that I send out to people in the group, and it's got like HVAC and roofers,
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
tile guys, all their needs.
find some of those things on like bigger pockets and
If
stuff.
if anybody wants the list, just send me an email at bigskyRVresort@gmail.com.
Big Sky RV Resort.
And I'll be happy to send you the list.
Yeah, you can find some of those contractor estimates online. A lot of times it will be networking. You know, you probably have somebody that you do some contract. We got somebody that's a contractor right back here. So, right?
What's your name now?
Cynthia Husser,
This will be.
RV Resort, Big Sky RV Resort.
You know, those are things that can kind of snag you. I mean, you can get hold of a bad one and learn the hard way, but sometimes you gotta just for networking, you know, and Lee's great about that. You said you're gonna add something?
I was just gonna say, you know, for her, wouldn't I guess it's kind of a question too. Wouldn't the 70% rule kind of help a little bit with that? Even if, like for somebody that doesn't know, you can kind of just do the 70% rule and just kind of die.
Yeah.
You know, if you do that for the after repair value,
Right.
and then apply the 70% rule, but you can kind of get a little bit of an idea, at least close to it, what the repair value would be on the home.
Right.
70%.
Yes.
Yeah, and it can be, you know, you can be all over the place if it, you know, there's two things I'll look at if I'm gonna flip a house. And if these two things, cause I'll deal with everything else. I know I'm gonna put flooring in, I know I'm gonna redo a bathroom and kitchen, I know I'm gonna paint the walls and maybe put trim in and things like that. But I wanna know if the HVAC is good and the roof is good. Okay, those are big expenses. I mean, those are the two that can jump up and get you good. You know, I mean, HVAC could be 12 grand. I mean, a roof could be 16. It could be high.
I've got an
You know.
amazing roofer that I just put on 2 different roofs on my property,
Yeah.
and I was shocked how cheap it was. I really was shocked.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the right people, I've got a guy that'll do roofing for me. They do it by the square, so that's pretty good. So I've even used them for other people before and kind of been a middleman and made a little bit of money, so. But, you know, yeah, and, you know, when I'm rehabbing a house, I know that I'm gonna be probably $20 to $30 a square foot. Now, if I'm gonna rehab it for a rental, it's a different quality than it is for a flip. You know, if I'm gonna do a rental, I'm gonna do a good contractor grade. If I'm gonna do a flip, I'm gonna be a step above that. I don't want contractor grade.
So is
Typically.
Is the $20 to $30 a square foot for your flip?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and then, so what would you ballpark for a rental? Would you say like 15 a square foot,
Oh.
or?
Now, those are my materials.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, it could probably be $15 a square foot. If you had a 1,000 square foot house, boy, 20 is probably the low still.
Okay.
You know, your flooring, if you got some inexpensive but good looking flooring, you might find it on sale for $1.50. You know, paint's gonna be cheap. Your kitchen's gonna, if you do some Walmart, or not Walmart, Home Depot, you know, box cabinets and put in inexpensive granite, you know, you're gonna be $6,000 to $8,000 on your kitchen. You know, your bathroom, you're gonna be $3,000 to $4,000, $5,000. So yeah, you're still gonna be around $20 a square foot.
And you said that's for rental property?
Yeah, probably more like a nice contractor grade, probably about $20 a square foot materials. You're doing a little bit nicer grade, you might be 30. You get into a roof and HVAC, you just added about $15 a square foot. I mean, depending on the size of the house, but yeah. Now, of course, contractors can make every bit of twice that, if not 3 times that. So, you know, you have a 1,500 square foot house, and it's gonna cost you $20 a square foot. Well, there's, you know, 30,000. Well, contractors could be another 30. So, depends, you know, but it could be a little bit lower, a little bit higher. So. Okay. Any more? Yeah.
What happened to your friend your business friend that you that, forget your money?
Did what? No, that was my boss. I was the one with the forget you money.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
Do you still have connections with him or good?
No, after he told me it's time we parted ways, did you come in here when I said that? Okay. I told him afterwards that, said, hey, why don't, before you leave town, he's in Wichita Falls, I said, before you leave town, why don't you, let's at least go to lunch. I just didn't want to leave on bad terms. I've been with the guy 35 years, you know. I mean, we've known each other since we were in our late 20s. So, but he didn't reply, so, I mean, I reached out. I feel like I tried to take the high ground a little bit, but in all honesty, it's his business. He wanted it done this way. I didn't always go that route. He was probably right. It's his business. He wants it done that way. I don't care if he said, I want you to go sweep the commode or the toilet room. You're paying me this much, you want me? That's okay. It's his business. If he wants me to mop the bathroom, I'll mop. Should have been mopping the bathroom. You know, I mean, if you're gonna pay me that kind of money. But that's all right. That's neither here nor there. You know, I worked the best I could to my abilities, and sometimes things go that way. Anybody else been fired from a job? I mean, I was fired from a job, one of the first jobs I ever had, and then the last job I ever had. So a good way to go out. It was a little bit different going in than it was going out. So, anyway.
Thank you, Steve. I know a little bit about Steve, and I know that he's done a few jobs with the guy that he was talking about. And so, remember, everybody in here has strengths. So, work on your strengths and rely on the other people around you for your weaknesses. You'll be able to put deals together. Steve, I don't know if you caught it, but when he's talking numbers with you, he did them in his head. I mean, like that. I have to have my little calculator to do that. But Steve's a number guy, so he can do it. I'm a numbers guy too, but in a different realm. So, and I can't pull them out of my head. I have to work them out on the calculator. So, okay, y'all just get to know each other and work with each other.